So I'm out on the streets. In my last video, I was talking about civil rights. Here's the next civil right to be looking at. It's actually a crime, actually. It fits in because civil rights, your civil rights says you have the right to be free of crime. You don't, you have the right to persecute others for crime. Prosecute. And so, the public has a constitutional right to be able to have a remedy to prosecute the government when they commit crimes. Like genocide or torture or murders and rapes and energy weapons abuses. Well, here's what I wanted to go back and look at though. I noticed that the government has invented a weapon to prevent you from being able to target them. The sheriffs, the police, our city officials, state and federal officials, the president, congressmen, whoever, mayors, governors, everybody. Now, these people cannot be prosecuted for a crime. And they've actually invented a weapon system. Because this weapon system can be used for so much. Its purpose is ultimately to prevent them from getting in trouble and to be able to commit secret abuses on a massive scale and help them cover it up. But here's what I wanted to see is like the primary targets are often those who are going up against them wanting justice. And so let's take a look at the only thing that you can do to get justice if the government's abusing you and you can't get them to, you can't arrest them, you can't get justice. Obviously things happen where the government's going to want to frame you. And so you are left with nothing you could do, or you're fighting them. And then what I'm really worried about is stuff that happened with me is getting put inside of a jail and a prison illegally, where they were the ones committing all the crimes. They commit hundreds of thousands of felony equivalent crimes of rapes or murders and things to sabotage me. And so I was the one in jail. I was the one in prison, and I didn't do shit. And there was no trial held to keep me there. There was no attorneys doing anything. And the attorneys were involved. They were helping the state cover it up because they had involvement with this shit. And they were participating in dirty. I'm talking about like Jessica Sadak and Margaret McGinnis and different attorneys around the state of Oregon who were working with, who would go in and out of government jobs and have ties to the CIA and the U.S. Department of Justice and these weapons. They're Disability Rights Oregon. They're at the state hospital. They're the public defenders. They're all over. And so they're private attorneys even. And so what it is though, I really just wonder, my ultimate thing, my concern is how many people who are in prison and jail right now are there unjustly because some evidence was hidden in their case, because they were denied a fair trial, they were denied counsel or effective counsel. Their attorney was corrupt. The DA was prosecuting them for crimes of the government. How about Bradley Manning, for example? That's another good example. Bradley Manning only helped the public learn what the government was doing to abuse people, murdering them, targeting them in other countries. And he gets all in trouble for doing the Cablegate stuff. And now he's the only one in trouble. And then all the other government agents who committed the crimes, the ones he helped expose, they're not being prosecuted. This is what's going on. I'm talking about the public as the ones being abused with the criminal justice system. The government cannot be undone with it. So where is the fairness? There is none. The whole system's corrupt. So I'm thinking that there's something, the excessive amounts of time people spend in prison, the high amounts of the sentences, the fact that there's no alternatives. Aren't you concerned that the whole thing is nobody cares what really happens? They just want to put you in prison and get rid of you, because if you're a government activist or you're just a public peacekeeper, and there's no public spies, unfortunately, to spy on the government, really. And so the government's really lopsided in that they're committing violent, murderous crimes, wars, treason, and nobody's there to stop them. And if someone like Bradley Manning or Edward Snowden come out, they want to murder Edward Snowden. They want to put Bradley Manning in prison for life, or 10 years, or whatever. And they want to do what they did to me, is just do it all in secret. No due process, no court, or the courts are secretly letting it happen, targeting me with an energy weapon for murder, and then putting me in prison and jail. And just, this is happening to so many people around the country, and I'm just concerned that nobody is protected. And you're all victims of this. And how many, is it 50% of the people who are falsely in prison right now because of the government lying and refusing to acknowledge abuses? I think it's true. And I think it's at least 50%, but someone has to research that and find out how many of these people were actually guilty of crimes versus the government sabotaging or setting these people up, or doing that thing where, see, the government doesn't actually care, that's what I was trying to say earlier, about who ends up in prison. It doesn't matter to them. If you're there in prison, it's just a paycheck to them. They get a paycheck for that. So they don't give a flying fuck about the public. There is no justice, no incentive to do good or right. And with these ideas of energy weapons being used to commit mass amounts of crimes around the country, we know that it's happening on purpose, and they invented a weapon to set the public up and to be able to do these types of abuses on a massive global national scale. And so if the whole system is corrupt like that, nothing it's doing is valid. It's all a lie. Everybody is being abused by it. And I just want to let the public know with these videos, it is that scale of corruption. The president personally knows that there are thousands of victims around the country being raped and murdered by the military and the police, with a weapon system, with a software program that was instructed to do it. Do you understand? Do you understand that when they're watching, they got so many methods of surveillance too. It's all designed to humiliate and control and abuse the public. Whether they're watching you on Yahoo webcam masturbating, or they're tapping into your Xbox webcam or your cell phone when it's off and using it to record you, they're doing it. Or they got their satellites watching you, and their atomic grade laser microphones recording you and imaging you through radio, electron imaging crap, and they're watching you everywhere. And then they're targeting your memories and your brain, because your brain is signals intelligence, a bunch of bundled wires that they can tap remotely, and they can get those signals.